What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about and what's happening here in our country on a daily basis. We got some big news going on here. Will President Biden need to take an executive order to prevent a debt ceiling default? And former President Donald Trump, well, take a look at this, is now leading in a new poll for a 2024 matchup. Remember that Trump has declared he will be running for the Republican Party. In a new poll for the Republican Party, he did lead Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, and he's now also leading against Biden in a 2024 presidential rematch. Here's what the poll said. Former President Donald Trump holds a 3-point or 3% lead over President Biden in a hypothetical 2024 rematch. That basically just means if the election were to happen today. According to a Emerson College poll released here on Tuesday, 44% in the poll said they would support Trump in the 2024 presidential election, compared to 41% who said they would back Biden. Another 10% said they would support someone else, while 4% said they remained undecided. This represents a reversal from Emerson's latest national poll in November that showed Biden with a 4% lead over Trump, 45% to 41%. Despite falling behind Trump in a hypothetical matchup, Biden's approval rating saw a 5% bump, or 5-point bump, which is the same thing, in Tuesday's poll, increasing from 39% in November to 44% in January. 58% of Democratic primary or caucus voters said they think Biden should be the Democratic nominee, while 55% of Republicans think that they think Trump should be the nominee, which is really not that high for either party, to be honest. Trump holds a 26-point lead over his closest primary competitor, Ron DeSantis. However, DeSantis has gained slightly over Trump over his November poll by 4%. Now, since then, the Georgia Fulton County DA says, quote, decisions are imminent on potential charges in Trump's effort to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia. This is coming from the Fulton County DA. Yeah, the Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis suggested Tuesday that the special grand jury investigating Donald Trump and his allies' efforts to upend the 2020 election in Georgia has recommended multiple indictments and said that her decision on whether to bring charges is, quote, imminent. So this is an actual quote from the DA in Georgia. At a hearing in Atlanta on whether to publicly release the special grand jury report, Willis, who is a Democrat, said she opposes making it public at the moment, citing her ongoing deliberations on the charges. But remember here, there is a special grand jury here doing the investigating. I don't think it's just her. Decisions are imminent, Willis told Judge Robert McBurney. We want to make sure that everyone is treated fairly, and we think for future defendants to be treated fairly, it's not appropriate at this time to have this report released. The special grand jury, barred from issuing indictments, penned the highly anticipated final report as a culmination of its 7 months of work, which included interviewing witnesses from Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to former Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani. The special grand jury heard from a total of 75 witnesses. Also, this comes as former President Donald Trump was fined nearly $1 million for what the judge called filing revenge lawsuits against Hillary Clinton and others. The judge says that former President Donald Trump and his lawyer, Alina Habba, have been fined almost $1 million by a federal judge in Florida for what was ruled a frivolous lawsuit brought against his 2016 presidential rival Hillary Clinton and others, saying, quote, Trump is a prolific and sophisticated litigant who is repeatedly using the courts to seek revenge on political adversaries, wrote U.S. District Judge Donald M. Middlebrooks in his searing 46-page judgment published late Thursday. Quote, he is the mastermind of strategic abuse of the judicial process, and he cannot be seen as a litigant blindly following the advice of a lawyer. He knew full well the impact of his action, and as such, I find that sanctions should be imposed upon Trump and his lead counsel, Ms. Habba. And they find them jointly liable for $937,000, 983 and 39 cents. This was in regards to the suit that was filed in March 2022 with Trump alleging that Clinton and others had orchestrated a, quote, malicious conspiracy to spread false information that his campaign had colluded with Russia during the 2016 presidential race that he won. Also, apparently, maybe because of this, Trump also dropped his second legal challenge and appeal to New York Attorney General after the sanctions in the Hillary Clinton case. So, Trump has so many different lawsuits and appeals and all sorts of litigations going on. So Trump actually dropped his second legal challenge to the New York Attorney General after his sanctions in the Hillary Clinton case. So a lot going on here. Representative Ro Khanna suggests that President Biden may have to take unilateral action, which is executive order action, to prevent the debt crisis if Congress can't come to an agreement, which they might not be able to, because, well, remember, the Republican Party took 15 votes to even elect their own Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy. So that's kind of how divided the Republicans are just amongst themselves. Now, remember, the Republicans are wanting some type of cuts. We have a lot of Republicans that are talking cuts to Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, even the military. We're not sure what they're going to put on paper when they actually put pen to paper, which Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is now asking them for, saying, okay, give us your actual demands, put it on paper. We don't even know what they're actually going to agree to, because some Republicans want this. Former President Donald Trump said, don't do this. So it's going to be interesting to see what they actually want to cut, okay? Because, my whole theory is that, okay, if you cut $75 billion from the military, does that lower the price of milk? Does that lower the price of eggs? Does that make your landlord lower the price of rent? If they cut Social Security, if they cut your Social Security check by X amount of dollars, does that lower the price of eggs? Does that lower the price of your rent? Does that lower the price of your electric bill? Just think about that for a second. If anything, if they cut your Social Security check, it makes it harder for you to pay your bills. It doesn't reduce inflation. It makes it harder. It just shows you how out of touch these congressmen, congresswomen are, right? Remember that these guys, they go into Congress, they get these $200,000 a year salaries, and they come out of there multi-millionaires. They're just so out of touch. It's just ridiculous. So remember, it took the Republicans, and I'm not picking sides here or anything, but I'm just showing you how divided they are. It took the Republicans 15 votes just for the Republicans to pick a leader just from their own party. Now the Republicans and the Democrats are going to have to agree, two different parties, okay? And the Democrats are saying they're not going to negotiate at all on the debt ceiling. And that's what President Biden and the Democrats are saying. $31.4 trillion is past debt that shouldn't even be negotiated on, because It should just be, what they're saying is that it should be paid for. It's just past debt. It has to be paid for, or else we default. Okay, so Democrats are saying we're not going to negotiate. Republicans are saying we have to negotiate. We need to cut expenses, et cetera, et cetera. And like 2/3 or 75% of the budget is military, Social Security, and Medicare and Medicaid. Nobody wants to cut any of those things, but if you don't cut any of those things, there's very little left of all the other stuff. Okay, so those are the big budget bills. Those are the big budgets. So if you don't cut that, what do you cut? So basically, Ro Khanna is saying here is that well, if they can't agree, the president may have to do some type of executive order. But the problem is that even within the scope of what he can do? You know, executive orders, a lot of times executive orders are always like in that gray area of like, well, can he do this? Can he not do this? We remember here that former President Donald Trump passed an executive order basically sending out checks to millions and millions of Americans for those unemployment checks that went out for, it was $300 per week for 6 weeks. It went out for $1,800. He used the National Disaster Relief Fund right before the, what was it, the 2020 election. And you know, he used that and it was went out and it was billions and billions of dollars. And it was like, I remember talking about it, it was like a lot of people were saying he can't do that. And it could have been challenged in a court of law, but the Democrats didn't do it. And I was like, don't challenge it, because it's just not a good look. Why would you want to take money out of people's pockets, right? And similar with the student loan forgiveness, right? Why would you want to take money out of people's pockets when they're just trying to help 40 million people, right? Well, I said the same thing with this one, but well, the Republicans are challenging it, and there's 40 million people like up in the air, like, hey, are we going to get this help or not? Same thing with the checks that not Biden but Trump passed for those unemployment checks, right? Same thing. It was like, well, I said the Democrats shouldn't challenge it because this is help that they need. It's like, and you think about of course, there are different circumstances, right? But you think about the student loan forgiveness. Those are those people that had the student loan forgiveness or have the student loans. They pay on those things for decades and decades and decades, and it's just like it's so tough for them, you know. And it's I will say the same exact sentence that I said to the Democrats there. Don't challenge it because this is something that helps out millions and millions of people. Well, the Republicans challenged it anyways. You know, there's been multiple lawsuits. I guess they just don't want to help out the people. So we'll see what happens here. That's going to be happening here actually in a few weeks, and the Supreme Court's going to decide. So it's interesting how just a few people are going to get to decide the fate of millions and millions of people, 40 plus million people in this case. So it's either like 40 million people are going to go, yay, thank God we got help, or 40 million people are just going to be crushed and have their hopes and dreams just completely crushed and say, oh, what do we do now? We have all this debt that we're not going to get any help on, no support. And you're going to say, you know, no, normally it's saying Congress doesn't care. In this case, I guess it'll be, I don't know, the Republicans in the Supreme Court. So, you know, it's tough because they're not raising any taxes or anything on this. You know, and then we'll go back to the question here. If they cut some of the budget, if they cut some of the military budget or the Social Security budget or the Medicare budget, does that lower the price of your eggs? Does that lower the price of your rent? Does that lower the price of your electricity? Let me know your thoughts here in the comments, because this is what Congress is debating right now. And if they cut $75 billion of the military budget, I don't think the grocery store is going to lower the price of my eggs. I don't think the electric company is going to lower the price of my electricity. And I don't think the mortgage company is going to call and say, hey, we've lowered your mortgage payment. I just don't think it's going to happen that way. But you guys let me know if you think differently. We'll see. We'll see. I just don't think it works that way. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments, and I'll keep you up to date here. But this is what Congress and presidents and former presidents and everybody is working on right now here. So make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And make sure to click the bell icon after you subscribe. Thanks so much for liking. And here is some videos you can watch next. You can click here to see my newest video next. And here is a video about $1,000 and $1,500 checks going out that you might not even know about. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.